Hey guys, welcome back to Quick Notes with Chris. Today we're going to be continuing our series of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Today we're going to be talking about the 8th law, the law of intuition. Now, he's gone on record saying that this is one of the most hard to describe laws because intuition itself talks about something that's not necessarily 100% tangible. He breaks it down to it comes down to a majority of 3 fundamental steps. So number 1 is general knowledge, understanding your situation. Number 2 is your team, understanding your team, your organization, how they work, how they operate. And then finally, just your gut feeling. It's very difficult to develop, however, it is possible. And it basically talks about how you develop it over time through experiences, accumulation, and essentially making predictions and then monitoring whether or not they come through. Your intuition can be fundamentally described by your gut feeling. Whenever you feel as if something is off, there is something that you might not necessarily want to be doing, or maybe shouldn't do, or maybe should do, that's something that you should base your decision off of. But also, the book talks about how further breaking it down. So understanding why is it that you have this certain feeling. You see, he understands that every single part of your brain, every single part of your decision making, or every single part of your feeling has a reason as to why it's doing that. So you can understand why it is that it's happening. Maybe there's some levels of perception that you're not necessarily consciously picking up, but subconsciously you are. So if you look to a reason why it's necessarily happening, it can give you a better understanding of developing your intuition. Now, intuition is basically one of the number 1 traits whenever it comes to leadership, and it's very difficult in order to necessarily develop, but it is possible. The book talks about how there's 3 different levels to intuition. The first one being that you're born with it. People who are just naturally intuitive, people who have the natural ability to make decisive, correct decisions. The second one is the ones who nurture it. Now, it's always going to be a combination of those 2, and the third ones are the ones who just don't have it. But don't worry, if you're watching a video like this, you probably won't have it because people who don't have intuition aren't the ones to look towards developing it. So how is it that you go about developing it? Well, the book talks about basically outside of doing the fundamentals, where it's knowing your team, understanding your organization as best you can, how they operate, basically making predictions of what they have, and also just general knowledge on how basically people operate and so on and so on. They're the most simple ways through trial and error. So essentially making predictions and monitoring whether or not they come through. Through this fail-forward process, you may be finding yourself in a bunch of situations that you may have already predicted out, been in previously, and are able to essentially utilize the results that you got in the previous, examples in order to move into future ones. Now, the problem with that is that depending on the situations that you're utilizing these prediction processes in, you might not necessarily be at fault or ability to take the fault in case it doesn't go through. Well, I would suggest literally plugging into a mentorship. If you personally notice that you're lacking in intuition, or you're lacking in the ability to understand, forward, project, and make decisions based on, not necessarily certainties, I would 100% looking towards plugging into a mentorship. See, a mentor has probably gone through similar situations that you have, and I understand it's difficult, especially if you have nowhere to start, but look towards developing your resources, networking, find yourself in places, looking towards teaming up with certain people, or looking for advice from people who have what you have, or have already accomplished what it is that you're looking to accomplish and can actually teach you. It's these types of people that would definitely, by default, develop their intuition through experiences and making the same predictions that you probably did in order to actually understand what it is that they did previously in order to apply it to your business as well. So, once you understand that, I would personally suggest making a prediction before you talk to your mentor and seeing if you think that his prediction is going to run the similar way, and basically scheme and understand the direction of the company or business or whatever it is that you're leading is going to go. From there, you can look towards developing your intuition through your experience and then personally actually developing your business, organization, and company. It's very important to work on and hone intuition. So many people view knowledge, so many people experience, so many people view basic intelligence as a born skill. And although, yes, there are certain people who have a basic natural development towards it, every single person can develop it, especially through watching these videos, looking towards reading books and so on and so on and so on. But no matter what, it's something that you constantly need to nurture. And the fundamental way where you can always predict how it is that a person is going to act is by first understanding your people. So I would highly suggest you go into the law of connection for this one. Look towards connecting and having empathy with your people. If you can understand what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they're wanting to attain in general out of life, their short-term, medium goals, or even long-term goals, you can understand the decisions that they're going to make in order to put them in positions to basically benefit themselves. And if you can understand what it is that they're looking to achieve, you can understand how they might reflect their workload and so on and so on and so on. But that's just within your people, because it's even more difficult when it comes to testing the market, and this is tough. Unfortunately, the easiest way to do it is basically look at what the trends are already happening. And nowadays, there are a lot of internet sites, statistics that you can utilize for your own personal use in order to achieve what it is that you're looking for. But outside of that, I would highly suggest looking towards your competition. See, every single good leader, every single good business, every single business that's essentially working at the moment would definitely have competitors. If you can understand your competitors, if you can understand their move, looking towards your competition, understanding what threats that they might give towards your business or organization, then you can always understand what level of a back foot or ahead in the competition you have. This is against garnering the knowledge. An intuitive leader always makes decisions on the knowledge that he has. So you should always look towards accumulating as much knowledge as possible. Now, I understand it's really difficult, especially if you're just starting or if this is your first time in business, leading a team, but unfortunately, you're just going to have to utilize the fail-forward rule. The fail-forward rule really talks about essentially understanding that no matter what, you're going to have a lot of learning in the doing, so just push through. Understand that you're going to have to make predictions that might not necessarily pay off. In fact, more often than not, they're not going to, and you might make the wrong one. But the best thing that you can do is monitor how it is that reaction ended up occurring. Make notes, make note of everything that happened, your direction of which you chose to basically make the decision in, and break down as many steps as further you can. The next part is genuinely gut feeling. Now, the thing about gut feelings is they always have a level of understanding and explanation. If you certainly do just have this weird feeling about a person, it is something that person's body language, something that person has said, something that he has done in the past that might have made you feel that way. See, if you break down everything that it is that gives you a certain gut feeling, you can come to a further understanding as to why it is that you feel that way. And from there, you can apply that criteria to different situations, whether it's in terms of the direction that your company or business is going, maybe the person that you're choosing to partner with, if not, it's not necessarily the correct one, and so on and so on and so on, or even the person that you're hiring. It's so different and so encapsulating whenever you master the law of intuition. And the fact is that no one necessarily comes to a standpoint where they're 100% right on every single decision. However, you can get close through experience. So I highly suggest you read books of people that you've previously learned from, or people that you can learn from. I definitely think that you should 100% read the law of intuition. It breaks down so many further aspects to it, seeing as though it's one of the most invasive and hardest ones to describe, as the author talks about, which is understandable because there's a level of uncertainty around it. But what you can account for is the accountable. So I'd look towards developing your knowledge. Accumulate as much knowledge as you can on whatever subject that you're looking towards to make the decision on. Finally, get to know your team. Law of connection is one. If you can have a level of connection with your employees, with your inner circle, with whoever it is that you're working with, whether it's your competitive, whether it's any market that you're looking to go into, the more knowledge you have, the more understanding of how people operate, especially within your organization, the better you can predict on how things are going to turn out. And the person who has all the cards obviously is going to make the best play. So you always want to be the person who has the most knowledge. Finally, I'd look towards developing it through finding a mentor. I've already mentioned this personally before, but I definitely think that it is the best thing you can possibly do, especially if you have a mentor that's in the exact same industry as you, and if you can have a level of mutual financial interest within each other, because that way you can know that he's giving you best genuine advice. And that comes from, once again, the law of intuition. If a person has gone through similar situations than you, then they, generally speaking, understand how it is going to react. So many times in business, there are a lot of things that people are experiencing new every single day. Nowadays, everything that can happen has happened, so that means that there is someone that you can learn previously through their experience rather than your own. So, if you can look towards utilizing that, especially through people that you know, maybe bosses, maybe people that you have partnerships with, of course you're going to be at the upper end of whatever it is that you're looking towards doing. Now, the tough part might be where you really need to instill the law of intuition if you're pioneering a new industry. If you're a person who's literally making a business or making an idea that's brand new, never done before, whether it's in your area or in the entire world, then that's going to be more difficult. However, business is business. When it comes to people operate the same way. But what might be tough is market trends. Especially if it's a new idea, brand new, something that's never been duplicated before, then I'm not going to lie, it's going to be very, very tough. However, you can always hone your skills through making predictions, monitoring the results, reading the books, and I highly suggest you definitely don't stop there. When it comes to the law of intuition, the number one thing that it goes in is law of connection. So look towards developing yourself when it comes to developing your people, your connection to them, understanding what it is that they're looking for, and then you'll basically be able to accumulate the knowledge further, put yourself in a better position whenever it comes to this decision making. So what you can do from here, if you're a person who is in a business position who does need to master the law of intuition, first things first, get to know your people. 100% sit down with them, understand what it is that they're looking for, if your basically beliefs, morals, and direction of the company align, and see if there's basically a long-term relationship. From there, you can basically have a further understanding of what decisions they're going to make in the further with their goals, whether it's short-term, long-term, if they're going to be with the company for long. From there, you can understand further whenever it comes to making these predictions, if changes do happen within the company. and understanding what direction and decisions that you should make yourself. Anyways, guys, that's it for Quick Notes with Chrisan on the Law of Intuition by John C. Maxwell. I highly suggest you don't stop there. I definitely think you should read the books, and I specifically think that if you're struggling with this personally, look towards plugging into a mentorship. However, don't stop there today. You can definitely look at some of the other videos we have on the channel. Keep looking to sort of striving for a better improvement and a better position for success. I'll see you guys in the next video.